93.5 NY and beyond. Your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions are welcome at 3FM 927. Minority petitions, Sraj, special prosecutor, and the Ghana Police Service to probe Sammy Jemfi over dollar gift saga. We've got details for you, exactly what the details of their petitioning is. Stay with us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We'll tell you about the energy situation in this country. It's not looking good. The Energy Minister, John Jenapo, has been giving detail of the shortfalls in energy supply and how much government would have to pay. Some 30 million cedis. And we'll give you details of that shortly here on Hot Edition Plus. The National Labour Commission has also been engaging striking workers and what has to be done going forward. Dr. Stephen Mantial has also been talking about the way forward in dealing with the gold board and also the interventions needed so far. Stay with us. We've got details for you, plus the latest in business and sports over the next 1 hour, 30 minutes. And I'm Haliga is here with a summary of the news.
In today's summary, the minority in Parliament has petitioned Sraj, the Special Prosecutor, and the CID to investigate Gold Board CEO Sammy Jemfi with a viral video showing him giving dollar notes to a televangelist in Agrada. They reject President John Mahama's decision to let the matter end with a caution, insisting further action is needed. Now, government is racing against time to secure funds for the purchase of liquid fuel for electricity generating plant amid power crisis. The Minister for Energy and Green Transition, John Jenapo, says the fuel stock for power generation has dwindled to less than 3 days, raising fears of an intermittent nationwide blackout. He told members of the Parliament's Energy Committee that while some fuel has been ordered, funds are currently not available to pay for the supply. He said without immediate funding, power generation could grind to a halt. Now, Ghana's retirement age could soon rise from 60 to 65 if the National Pensions Regulatory Authority gets its way. During a recent engagement with the Parliamentary Select Committee on Employment, Labour Relations and Pensions, the NPRA proposed a national conversation on increasing the retirement age, arguing that Ghana's current pension system is under pressure from increased life expectancy and short contributions. The National Labour Commission is raising concerns about a surge in unfair dismissal and termination cases, especially in Tema within the Greater Accra region. Executive Secretary Dr. Bernice Welbeck says the growing number of complaints is straining the Commission's overload and workload, but assures the public that proactive steps are being taken to address labour disputes and uphold fair employment practices.
Thank you very much. There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Hot Edition. We're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and also on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Our government is scrambling to secure funds for liquid fuel to power generating plants, and that's what we're getting into right now, because there's imminent power crisis as the Energy Minister is warning of the shortage of fuel. Now, this evening, government is racing against time to secure funds for the purchase of liquid fuel for electricity generating plants amid looming power crisis. The Minister for Energy and Green Transition, John Jenapo, says the fuel stock for power generation has dwindled to less than 3 days, raising fears of an imminent nationwide blackout. He told members of Parliament's Energy Committee that while some fuel has been ordered, funds are currently not available to pay for the supply. He said without immediate funding for power generation, it could grind to a halt. Let's take a listen to him earlier today.
Here alone, today as I sit here, government spent over this morning my headache is how to get the next parcel of liquid fuel. The fuel we have to take us 2.6 days. We've placed order for fuel, but it has to be paid. We've procured some fuel on credit and working with the Ministry of Finance to pay. But the truth is that the Ministry of Finance also has its limits. And so we'll be going to Cabinet to discuss how we can improve on the sector. And that is why we are pushing for some private sector participation in ECG's operations. It does not entirely solve the problem, but it takes us to another level. Because if the collections are reduced from the 40% to say 5%, it means that we'll be collecting more. Cabinet has also adopted a position, and we'll brief you, Chairman. All MMDAs are supposed to pay for their electricity bills. They have to budget for it. We've identified what we call critical institutions. They include the health sector, the education sector, the security agencies, and the presidency. Even with that, so if you take the health sector, it's the theaters, the laboratories, the wards that will be exempted. If you take the education institutions, dormitories are not part, restaurants are not part, only lecture theaters. So we've classified that. The cabinet is granting the approval and will publish that. Even what we term as critical institutions, the Minister of Finance will have to budget for it and pay.
Well, that's a troubling picture that the Energy Minister, John Junapor, has just painted right there. Now, the Minister says a number of measures are being taken to address the challenges in the power sector. Take a listen to him.
This year alone, government spent over 24 billion cedis in energy sector. Either you call it subsidies, under recoveries, or shortfalls. This year, it is estimated at over 30 billion in terms of the shortfall. Yesterday, we had a session with the finance minister, and a lot of the people here were there. We require about $1.1 billion to procure liquid fuels alone. Unfortunately, and the PRC is here, the liquid fuel is not part of the tariff structure. And so you will be buying close to $15 billion of liquid fuel, and that has to be paid by the central government because it's not part of the tariff structure. As if that is not enough, what you call the reserve margin, which is a necessity, because you just don't bring plants to meet exactly what you consume. What if one plant goes off for maintenance or any situation? That is not also part of the tariff structure. More importantly, the tariff itself, ECG is unable to collect all the monies. And so you're having a deficit of about 2 billion cedis every month when it comes to ECG's collections. When you add that deficit and you add the fuel, which is not part of the pass-through, you are looking at over 30 billion. Car Power has just sent us a letter that by 18th, they will shut down the plant because we owe them more than $400 million. IPPs alone, we owe them $1.7 billion. And so it's serious.
Oh, that's how serious the situation is right now. And the Energy Minister did not mince words in describing how serious the situation is. IPPs alone are owed $1.7 billion. And out of that, Car Power alone is owed some $400 million. And they've given notice in the next 3 days, which is on the 18th, they will shut down their plant. That's the Car Power plant, the Car Power ship. Now, it's got even more worrying because the minister has warned that Car Power, one of the country's major power producers, with that threat to shut down its plant if government fails to settle that on an outstanding debt of $400 million, and what the IPPs are owed, $1.7 billion, if they all also give indication of shutting down their plants, we're faced with a catastrophic situation. This is the minister earlier today.
Car Power has just sent us a letter that by 18th, they will shut down the plant because we owe them more than $400 million. IPPs alone, we owe them $1.7 billion. And so it's serious. I must be frank with you, Chairman. Today, as I sit here, this morning, my headache is how to get the next parcel of liquid fuel. The fuel we have to take us 2.6 days. We've placed order for fuel, but it has to be paid. We've procured some fuel on credit and working with the Ministry of Finance to pay. But the truth is that the Ministry of Finance also has its limits.
That's the Energy Minister there, John Jinapor, and detailing the dire situation that we're faced with right now because of the debt owed these power producers, independent power producers. And what we're also hearing now is that because of this, some 1.1 billion is needed to procure liquid fuel alone. That's according to the Energy Minister. $1.1 billion is needed to procure liquid fuel alone. That's what John Jinapor has been detailing to us all, and how the coming days will look like, especially because of the indication he gives that Car Powership, one of the major independent power producers we have in this country, will, all things being equal, shut down their plant in the next 3 days if they are not paid the over $400 million that they are owed. That is how dire the situation is. And then shortly, we'll be joined by an energy analyst to have a conversation on this, because the energy minister is making proposals as to what they intend to do going forward and what next the place will be. So we'll have a conversation on this particular matter, and stay with us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. We're going to come back to this. Kwame Jantwa is private legal practitioner, is an energy expert, and also we'll have the head of public affairs for the energy ministry joining us as we go on. By the minority in parliament, they've petitioned the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, SHRAJ, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and the Police Criminals Investigations Department to investigate the dollar cash gift saga involving Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Gold Board, Sami Gyamfi. This follows minority's rejection of President John Mahama's decision not to take disciplinary action against Mr. Gyamfi beyond a caution. In a widely circulated video on social media last weekend, Sami Gyamfi was captured gifting controversial televangelist Patricia Siedu-Esiama, popularly known as Nana Grada, some dollar notes after she had approached him by his vehicle. The NPP legislators believe Sami Gyamfi has questions to answer beyond just the caution. Speaking after the submission of a petition to SHRAJ, MP for Gambaga Naririgo constituency Alhaji Nuruddin Mohammed Mumani, who is the petitioner, questioned the basis for President Mahama's decision on the matter, adding he believes a crime has been committed.
In the last 1 week, we all saw what's happened around the country. Mr. Sami Gyamfi doling out dollars to Agada. So we were expecting that His Excellency, the President, John Dramani Mahama, is going to act on it. But yesterday, we all saw that the man in charge of communication at the presidency, Felix Kwachi, came out to say that the president is not going to take any further actions against Mr. Sami Gyamfi because he has apologized. So we thought that that is not proper. We are disappointed in the action of the president. We were expecting that His Excellency, the president, will refer Sami Gyamfi to the appropriate institution to investigate the matter and bring finality to the issue. But what did we see? He cleared him without any investigation. So we thought that we should bring the matter up again to the appropriate institutions for that to conduct an investigation into the whole issue.
What will be your expectation, finally, what will be your expectation of SHRAJ? The petition has been filed, it's been received. What will be your expectation of SHRAJ?
We have so much confidence in SHRAJ. We know they will use the law. They are the institution mandated to, investigate issues of this nature. So we have high expectation that they will do the right thing and bring finality to this issue.
Where are you going? Yeah.
From here, we are going to we are going to CID, and from CID, we are going to the OSP.
So that's the minority in there, also indicating where next they're going. Now, questions have been raised about what exactly the establishment of guilt is, but the minority say they have a case.
man in charge of communication at the presidency, Felix Kwachi, came out to say that the president is not going to take any further actions against Mr. Sammy Gyamfi because he has apologized. So we thought that is not proper. We are disappointed in the action of the president. We were expecting that His Excellency, the president, would refer Sammy Gyamfi to the appropriate institution to investigate the matter and bring finality to the issue. But what did we see? He cleared him without any investigation. So we thought that we should bring the matter up again to the appropriate institutions for them to conduct an investigation into the whole issue.
What will be your expectation, finally, what will be your expectation of Shraj? The petition has been filed, it's been received. What will be your expectation of Shraj?
We have so much confidence in Shraj. We know they will use the law. They are the institution mandated to, investigate issues of this nature. So we have high expectation that they will do the right thing and bring finality to this issue.
Where are you going?
Yeah. From here we are going to CID, and from CID we are going to the OSP.
So that's a minority, but for Adam Senna, who is a co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, he says he is not surprised at the outcome of this particular decision as was communicated by the government spokesperson, Felix Kwachi, because from his perspective, no wrong had been committed by Sammy Gyamfi in this particular issue, contrary to what the minority is arguing right now.
Oh, yes, I think it's in order. I am happy to know that the presidency did not trivialize this issue. Neither did the person in question, Mr. Sammy Gyamfi himself. So although my perspective has been that there is no specific law or policy that has been breached at this point, however, this was an indiscretion because we don't use dollars here, and now that he's a public officer, he's not in private life, all actions will deserve the scrutiny of citizens. So once you start giving out money as a senior public officer, people begin to legitimately ask, whose money are you spending? And so circumspection, moderation, and being very measured is important. I think that the presidency has done well. I didn't expect any other option because there wouldn't be a legal basis to say punishment A or sanction B. Even the code of conduct does not cover this. So perhaps it's an opportunity to upgrade certain portions to reflect anything that brings the government to disrepute or any kind of ostentatious, opulent kind of lifestyle that would raise questions and eyebrows. Having said that, I think that this is the way to go, and I'm happy they've managed to come out formally to say something to the people of this country.
And we're getting to the bit about the proposal you make, because you're not alone in this thinking that going forward maybe the code should be amended to address also the public or the gift giving, because the code is very heavy on the receiving of gifts, right, by public officers, but quite silent on they giving gifts. But before that,
and let me just say that that's a very critical point. It's critical because we all know that our public officers are spending a lot of money when they go to their constituencies, whether, weddings or not, and all of that feeds into a vicious cycle.
Well, but
so if you're not careful...
Does that not also bring another side of events, is it not? The reason why that action of MPs going to constituencies spending money has never been an issue is probably because of the objective and the recipients of these monies that, when they go into a constituency and they are paying fees and so on, it's not an issue. We'll see the money, all right. We'll see captured on video.
But that's the reason why this is an opportunity to address that, because that is all part of opulence. That's all living beyond your means. And that is where then you'll be making demands and extorting or, getting yourself into situations that you ought not to. And so it's good for us to talk about it if there's opportunity. And if you ask me, is also the reason why the Conduct of Public Officers Bill should be dusted, finalized, and passed with all these things dealt with substantively. So you have sanctions spelled out in law, which any citizen can go to a court and hold a duty bearer responsible for.
As Adam Senan is a co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption there. So live here on Hot Edition, let's go back to our earlier story where the government is racing against time to secure funds for the purchase of liquid fuel for electricity generation plants. And with all of this, amid the looming power crisis, according to the Energy Minister, John Jinapor, saying that fuel stock for power generation has dwindled to less than 3 days, raising fears of an imminent nationwide blackout. Now, he told members of Parliament's Energy Committee that while some fuel has been ordered, funds are currently unavailable to pay for the supply. He said without immediate funding, power generation could grind to a halt. That's what we're faced with right now, and that's why I bring in Richmond Roxon. He's a private legal practitioner, but also the head of public affairs for the Energy Ministry. He's joining us on the telephone right now. Mr. Roxon, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening to you, Alfred, and good evening to your listeners.
Now, first off, I mean, this is troubling to say the least, is it not? If we're now getting to know that we need $1.1 billion to procure liquid fuel alone, and this has to come in the shortest possible time, or in the next 3 days we might be found wanting.
Well, good evening to your listeners once again. Let me clarify that the Parliamentary Select Committee for Energy invited the Minister for Energy and Green Transitions together with his agencies today for an engagement, and the Minister obviously had to honor it. At that forum, questions were asked, clarifications were sought, and that the Minister responded to these questions. The first point is that, yes, it is true that as of now, we have about 2.5 days of LCO to power some thermal plants. It doesn't mean that we don't have natural gas at all. We still have natural gas. But when it comes to the plants that run on LCO, we have only 2.5 days cover. The reason is because there are critical financial constraints in the energy sector as we speak. Because the ministry or the minister in this government inherited a very dire situation in the energy sector. The sector currently has a debt of about $3.1 billion US dollars. Beyond that, every month, the ECG has under recoveries of over $2 billion each month. If you put that together in a year, you're looking at close to $30 billion. The other major challenge is that the fuels that are used to power these plants are not part of the tariff structure. So every now and then, the Ministry of Energy has to fall on the Ministry of Finance to be able to procure fuels to power our plants. This is unacceptable. This shouldn't be the case, because if you are selling power, at the end of the day, you should be able to recover. If anything, you should be able to break even. So if you're unable to make profits because you are not a profit-making entity, you should be able to make at least break even. But that is not what is happening. Every month beyond that, the ECG struggles to recover all monies that for fuel for electricity that it has sold. So that is the challenge that we face. The good news is that 450,000 barrels of LCO has been procured. We're expecting the fuels in country tomorrow. Funding will still be a challenge, and consistently would have to engage the Ministry of Finance to be able to pay for these fuels. That is the challenge that we face as a sector.
So as the fuel is expected tomorrow, but then again, we haven't paid for it, right?
Yes, we haven't paid for it. The Finance Ministry has to find money to pay, which is unfortunate. Ordinarily, that shouldn't be the case, and that is why the Ministry of Energy and Finance as well, they're looking at structural reforms, especially when it comes to the tariff structure. Because if you don't have reserve margins included, you don't have fuel included, at the end of the day, the government will have to look for funds elsewhere, the taxpayers' money to fund that. If you remember, around 2014, 2015, these are some of the challenges that we had in the petroleum downstream sector. Eventually, what happened was that deregulation was introduced, and then these problems were resolved. So the ministries are looking at an amendment to the tariff structure. There are several proposals before Cabinet that moving forward, we are sure that some of these issues will be resolved.
But quite apart from that, we have the IPPs as well, debts that we're faced with, the $1.7 billion and over that we owe independent power producers. What's a plan to clear that?
That is the honest truth, and it all forms part of the bigger picture that we're looking at when it comes to the energy sector. The total debt today stands about $3.1 billion. Like I said, that excludes fuel, but it excludes invoices that ECG pays within the year. Last year, for example, and this is aside the debt, last year, for example, the invoices presented were about $1.3 billion. ECG pays $423 million. The government of Ghana had to foot over $800 million. That model is not sustainable. You cannot sell power and then the third party would have to always take care of that. And it's the same with the IPP. So we're looking at a holistic approach, how to resolve the energy sector challenges. There have been several deliberations in the past few months to ensure that this problem is resolved.
I see, but we're faced with, we're still with the IPPs. According to what the minister is saying today, Car Powership, one of the major IPPs we have in this country, in the next 3 days, has given notice that they will shut down their plant because of the over $400 million we owe them. And if we don't make attempts to at least pay off some, they would have no option than to shut down their plants. So what's the immediate response or plan to this?
What's the reality is that we are still engaging Car Powership. The conversation with the IPPs never stop. We are trying to make sure that at least the cash waterfall mechanism works efficiently, and we'll find ways and means to structure the existing debt. I'm quite confident that on the 18th, there's no way Car Powership will shut down because the government is engaging them, consistently engaging them to ensure that the people of Ghana continue to sleep in light and not darkness.
Well, but while we're at it, we still have to deal with the shortfalls, right? According to the minister, some 30 billion cedis would have to be made available this year to pay up for the shortfalls. Why is that?
In fact, the 30 billion cedis as a result of ECG's shortfalls. So, as I mentioned earlier, every month, ECG has a shortfall of over 2 billion cedis. If you do the mathematics, in a year alone, if you do 12 months, you're looking at 24 billion plus other incidental costs. So that is what takes you to 30 billion. What is happening is that the minister has, together with ECG, identified some of the challenges that they face. For example, most of the MMDAs do not pay electricity bills, which is unfortunate. Cabinet has directed that all MMDAs should pay for the electricity they use. Or what Cabinet has done is that there is an exemption for about 5 institutions. And even under the 5 institutions, it is not 100%. So under the 5 institutions, for example, if you take education, lecture halls, labs, all of them are covered. But dormitories and other things are not covered. So we're trying as much as possible to be efficient so that ECG can collect the revenue that it has to. So once ECG is able to improve its revenue collection, some of these challenges that we have will pay. And then the first, like I mentioned, the first challenge is to make sure that all MMDs are paying. We have cabinet approval, and then definitely moving forward. And even those with exemptions, it is not that they are not going to pay. They will pay, but what will happen is that the Ministry of Finance will use a portion of their budget for goods and services to pay the electricity bill. So in effect, everybody is going to pay for the electricity that they consume. That's the first point. The second point is that no company will survive with 40% losses. See, you can't survive with that kind of loss. And that is what we've been engaging the Electricity Company of Ghana to improve. The third thing is that we need to take a second look at the tariff structure. If we continue with the current tariff structure, definitely some of these challenges will still be there. Once these problems are solved, like I said, they are structural. Once we deal with these problems, definitely we should see a better energy sector and a total drastic reduction in the debts that we've seen.
And maybe finally, before I let you go on this one, we've tried this before, having the MMDAs pay for the power they consume. I recall in the Exwell, the late John Evans Tamil's regime, there was a director he gave himself to the Energy Ministry at the time to install prepaid meters in all MMDAs, so that they will pay for the power, and then if it goes off, they are off. That project was carried out to a point and it was halted. So yes, a directive again has come for the MMDAs to pay for the power that they consume. What is going to be done differently? Because we know what happens there.
What I can tell you is that the minister responsible for energy and green transition is committed to ensure that this is done. This will not be business as usual. Like you mentioned, yes, we've tried it in the past, but the commitment is different this time. We've had cabinet approval to ensure that this is done, and we have the support of His Excellency the President to make sure that all MMDs pay for electricity. So we are confident that this time the approach will work. You see, Alfred, where we find ourselves, and with time, I'm sure that everybody will have access to the books when it comes to the energy sector. We are at a very critical point. Very critical point. If we don't turn the sector around, I'm telling you, the sector may end up collapsing. We inherited a very dire sector in the energy sector. And if we don't turn things around, I'm telling you that eventually it's going to be suicidal. So that is why the minister is committed. He's taking all the steps, all the bold initiatives with the support of the president to ensure that these challenges are dealt with. The minister also served notice that we realize that there are saboteurs in the system. Anybody sabotaging the system, encouraging the inefficiency. For example, we find some officers of ECG underbailing some companies. We find some doing illegal connection. Anybody who does that will be outrightly dismissed. That should tell you the commitment that the government has in resolving the challenges in the energy sector.
I appreciate this. And so what was it? The word of assurance to the people listening to us that we're not going to experience any crisis in the coming days, despite the shortfalls and the lack of funds that we're faced with?
No, we are not going to. I assure the people of Ghana, through my minister, that the people of Ghana are still going to enjoy stable electricity, as that's been the case over the period, and that anyone who has fears should allay those fears. Measures have been put in place to ensure that there won't be any load shedding.
But even before this, there are people who are experiencing power outages in their areas. Some it goes off at night, it comes back or it's restored in the morning. What's going on?
Alfred, there are challenges in the sector, and that's why I mentioned earlier that these are challenges that we need to deal with. Let me use my area for example. So I live in an area where the capacity of the transformer, for example, if your transformer, let me even give an example for Chadu. Chadu was built for a place maybe for about 30 homes or 40 homes. You will know the capacity is supposed to. Now Chadu has become an urban area, it's a prime area. The pressure on the transformer at the end of the day has changed. What it means is that you need new investments. You need to change some of these transformers, cable, to ensure that people enjoy. So sometimes once it goes overload, there will be trips, and these are some of the challenges that we experience. The reality is that whether you look at the data from Gridco or from ECG, we are not shedding load. We have enough to generate electricity for the people of Ghana. So once we are not shedding load, definitely there's no need. In fact, there's no doom. So if you're experiencing challenges, definitely you have to get in touch with ECG for you to understand. For example, last week there was somebody's area that they had consistent power outages. Apparently, it had to do with the cable. They fixed it, and then today they sent a message saying that they are grateful for that. So these are some of the challenges that we are facing, but we are not shedding load. We are not shedding load at all.
Well, thank you very much, Richmond, for your time. Appreciate it as always, and we'll be connecting some more as and when the issues come up. Thank you.
Thank you, Alfred.
Richmond Roxon is a private legal practitioner and he speaks for the Energy Ministry. He's the head of public affairs for the Energy Ministry. And you're so live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Also on Kesmi 107.1. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. If you just joined us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with what we've been telling you, according to the Energy Minister, John Jinapo, is disclosing that Ghana urgently needs billions of cedis to procure liquid fuel to keep power plants running, warning the country risks a shutdown if immediate funding is not secured. According to him, over $1.7 billion is owed to the independent power producers, and an urgent $1.1 billion is needed to procure liquid fuel for power generation. So he was speaking to the Parliamentary Select Committee on Energy earlier today and talking to them. So this one that we'll keep an eye on, because it's about electricity, an essential commodity for all of us. And already some of you have been sending us messages, the power outages you've been experiencing in your neighborhood. You've heard Richmond Roxon respond to that they're not shedding load, but then again there are specific faults that they're dealing with. Now, the minority in Parliament, they've petitioned Shraj on the matters relating to what we mentioned to you earlier today on Samijemfi, which we'll keep an eye on as well here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Let's go into some matters. The National Service Authority has interdicted 2 officers in the Brim North District of the Eastern Region for their involvement in a payroll fraud scheme. Preliminary investigations revealed that the 2 managers knowingly validated and processed monthly allowances for 29 individuals in the 2024-2025 service year and 49 individuals in the 2023-2024 service year. These individuals, either on steady leave with pay or already in full-time employment, were fraudulently listed as regular National Service personnel. In a statement, the Director General of the National Service Authority, Felix Jemfi, noted that the incident reflects a broader payroll fraud challenge affecting the authority nationwide. To address the issue, the NSC has put a few measures in place. We want to find out from him. He's joining us on the line right now, the Director General of the National Service Authority, Felix Jemfi. Mr. Jemfi, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Alfred, and thank you so much.
Now, first off, let's understand this. This 49 individuals, and then in these specific areas you talk about, how were they able to, as it were, carry out this scheme without being fished out until now?
Well, it's not just them. It's actually nationwide, and it's usually done in collusion with our district directors, unfortunately. And then some of them also go undetected for a while, because mind you, if you walk into office and you say that you have just finished your university, it will take a while before we get to know that you are actually working as a teacher, as a soldier, or a policeman, or a custom officer elsewhere. Because we'll have no way of knowing from just the document that you have filled online and brought it to us, unless there's further collaborative effort for us to detect this.
I see, and you said this is a broader payroll fraud challenge.
It is nationwide, everywhere in Ghana. It is. I mean, people who are working either as custom officers, as military people, as policemen, CID, teachers, midwives, and nurses who have finished school now, after having gone back to school to do courses, would want to fulfill the requirement of the mandatory act for the National Service Act. And then in the end, register as regular national service persons, and they take the allowances of the service persons as well as their salaries, which shouldn't be the case.
and
it's not just them. It's actually people who are also working in private sector as well. So
I see.
It's not just them, and they are in their thousands as well.
They're in their thousands.
They are. You know what? Since we released this statement last night, several people have reached out to us on our call center, directly in our offices across the nation, asking that we change their status in our system from study leave to from regular service persons to study leave, so that they will not be able to submit allowances, their monthly allowance form for allowances.
I see. And so the people, the corporates in here are those people who are fraudulently receiving the monthly allowance even though they finished the service, and some of your staff.
They have not finished their allowance. They are working. They are full-time staff of organizations.
Yes.
Who went to school to do a course, and they are taking their allowance as well as their salary.
Which is wrong.
Which is wrong, of course.
So and so, if they have been identified, you have some of your staff as well who are aiding this?
Of course, yes.
So have they also been arrested?
When I took over, I went around the country and I told them that. And of course, they even had to report to us that these people are there. So I said, it's good if you report to us so that we delete their names. So we've had few deletions. But I was worried that the numbers that were reported is not what we were getting. So we ourselves have been looking around, and with the collaboration of certain people and reports we had, we went on the ground, and then this one in a brim was confirmed, and we have the pictures of all the people, their monthly duty allowance form they've submitted, which includes, unfortunately, a grown custom officer. I don't know why they do that, and then receiving a service allowance every month.
You say a grown custom officer, how old is he?
Well, he'll be in his 50s, I suspect.
60s?
Yes, I have the picture. I could release it today.
And he's still receiving allowance?
Yeah, he was, because although he's working as a custom officer in Abrim, he had also posted himself into the district assembly office as a district, as a service person, which is impossible because he's already working as a custom officer.
And was receiving national service allowance?
Yes, and there are so many of them. Soldiers, our office in Ladma, we've just posted a new director there, and he suspects that there are lots of soldiers who, although are working as military men, they are also taking national service allowance as well as their salaries.
So since this is a broader payroll fraud challenge, you say thousands may be benefiting from this scheme.
Since we've been in the office, we've deleted people from the list for one reason or the other. When we are sure about it, we delete it. But the statement we released yesterday is also a warning to people that this month, don't even submit your allowance at all. Because when you go, there will be a BNI officer or a whistleblower looking out for you. Because now so many people have been emboldened to come forward to say that, you know what, there's a gentleman who came by this afternoon and then asked that he is a teacher and he and his friends are doing that. Now what we are going to do, we told them that from this month, we are going to, for anybody we suspect, to go to Controlling Accountant General and give their name and their pictures to the Controlling Accountant General software system and pass through. If you are working there, we'll report you to your employers. So if it is a Ghana Armed Force, we'll report the soldiers to them, that these soldiers are passing off as regular national service persons and taking service allowances as well as their salary.
I say, but since this is a broader one and you're running on the suspicion, is there any plan to also employ a broad audit of the system to know and identify these people?
Of course, that is ongoing. That's what I'm saying, that since I've been here, apart from the ghost names, which we have deleted, of course, tens of thousands of them are now off and we don't even have to deal with them. We've deleted well over 12,000 for different reasons. For different reasons.
12,000 of what?
This one is specific names of people who either did not register with Ghana Card. If you did not register with Ghana Card, as I have said so many times, they are out. If you attended the university, which is not properly accredited with the Ghana Tertiary Education Committee, you're also out. But this one is a specific one about individuals, nurses, midwives, teachers, custom officers, GRA, other people who, in spite of working in their full-time capacity and taking salaries, are also taking national service allowance. That is very specific.
Oh, and the 12,000 that you mentioned, let's clarify, is it with the ghost names or with this one?
Oh, no. Those were part of course, the ghost names. They were hanging in there, for so many reasons. So if you attended university and then your university turns out not to be accredited properly with the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, you are not qualified to do national service. So we deleted those names. If you didn't have Ghana Card, you registered without Ghana Card and you did with SNET card or some other card, you're also out. So we want a card that whose identification of the person is beyond reasonable doubt.
I see. And you send a strong warning to at least through this medium to those who are listening right now.
This is, we also had to restrain ourselves yesterday because I had all these pictures of people who we could release as well. Initially, we thought we were going to release it. But I sat here in the evening, and then just yesterday, on a stroke of pen, we would have caused a lot of chaos in several homes and places around. Of course, I'm still receiving advice on how this will go. We want to deter people from involving themselves in this fraud. But on the balance of it, these 29 people are gone. They are not going to be part of our payroll next month. But for all the others who are either in all these towns and villages and communities and places, this month, they should not add their, they should not go to our offices and fill forms to be paid this month. Because if they do, and we find out, we'll publish it.
I thank you very much for this, and we would have to continue this conversation on Ghana Tonight. So thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you, as always.
Thank you so much.
Felix Gyamfi is the Director General of the National Service Authority, giving us details on the happenings at the authority, and that's troubling to say the least. I mean, it's 10 minutes to the hour 6 p.m. What we're getting to know now is that over 12,000 ghost names have been deleted from the National Service payroll just within the last 4 months. And then also some people who have completed their National Service but are still on the payroll of the National Service Authority receiving allowances. He mentions a 60-year-old custom officer who is still receiving National Service allowance. If you go on 3news.com, you'll get the details of this particular individual we're talking about. But let's tell some more stories here on 3FM 92.7 as 2 new cases of Mpox have been recorded in the Accra Metro, the Greater Accra region. All regional directors have been directed to reactivate their public health emergency operation centers and take steps to improve surveillance, risk communication, and case management activities. Sarah Penkro has more in the following report.
As of November last year, Ghana recorded a total of 34 confirmed cases of Mpox. The outbreak in Ghana started on June 8, 2022, with the detection of the first 5 cases. The country had no endemic presence of Mpox before this outbreak. The latest is these 2 new cases confirmed this year. Contact tracing is currently ongoing to contain spread, while the 2 cases, non-relatable, were both detected at a health facility and they are being monitored. The Ghana Health Service, in a communique signed by the Director General to regional health directors, directed a reactivation of the emergency response processes to heighten surveillance. Mpox is a viral disease similar to smallpox that causes fever, swollen lymph nodes, and rash. Its transmission occurs through direct contact with infected skin or body fluids, including sexual contact. Common symptoms include a rash, fever, headache, muscle aches, back pain, low energy, and swollen lymph nodes. As of March 2025, Africa continues to grapple with a significant Mpox outbreak. Over 24,200 Mpox cases were reported, with some 260 deaths across 22 affected countries. The Democratic Republic of the Congo remains the epicenter, accounting for a substantial proportion of the cases and fatalities.
Sarah Penkro's report there. Now, some more stories here on Hot Edition. Ghana's newly introduced gold board arrangement is the country's surest path to deriving greater benefits from small-scale mining. That's according to Dr. Steve Mantiel. The remarks were made at the 4th Annual Transformational Dialogue on Small-Scale Mining in Sunyani, where stakeholders convened to tackle illegal mining and promote sustainable practices. Organized by the University of Energy and Natural Resources, School of Mines and Built Environment, the event aims to reshape Ghana's small-scale mining sector for long-term economic and environmental gains. Here's a report by Claude Kumi Ebisa.
The dialogue brought together industry experts, traditional leaders, and policymakers to discuss sustainable solutions to Ghana's illegal mining menace. popularly known as Galamsey. Dr. Steve Mantiao, chairman of the Ghana Extractive Transparency Initiative, expressed optimism about the newly introduced gold board arrangement. He believes it will ensure that Ghana benefits from small-scale mining.
Enough of the talking. We should begin to use evidence-based research to shape national policies around the gold sector. We left the doors of the gold sector open, ajar, and everybody just walked in, picked whatever they wanted, and took it out. Look, small-scale mining in this country contributes 40% of our total gold production, but its contribution to the sector's revenue is less than 1%. So the bulk of the benefits we get from gold mining in this country comes from large-scale mining. Time has come for the small-scale mining to also contribute. And I think the gold board arrangement is one that will ensure that Ghana gets benefits from small-scale mining.
The Vice-Chancellor of UNE, Professor Elvis Asarividiako, commended President Mohammed's efforts in combating illegal mining. He called for stronger collaboration between the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, the Minerals Commission, the Ghana Chamber of Mines, and UNE to advance the fight against Galamsey.
The University of Energy and Natural Resources hold a vested interest in this matter because of its mandate of enhancing the natural resource sector to drive sustainable development across all sectors of the economy. I call upon the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, Minerals Income Investment Fund, Mineral Commission, the Ghana Chamber of Mines to collaborate closely with the University of Energy and Natural Resources, School of Mines and Built Environment to advance this national agenda.
Traditional leaders also weighed in, with the Omahini of Nsoko, Dasibre Okoji Aman Diodu Ampim II, urging the government to empower chiefs to lead the fight against illegal mining in their communities.
We are incapacitated by government regulation and by politics of the country, such that we as Nanano cannot do anything. So if President Mahama comes here and he wants me or asks me as a chief, what do you want to be able to engage Galamseyers? I'll ask him to give me the power. Before independence, we had the power. But after independence, the elites, the political elites, they've taken every power from us.
The 4th annual Transformational Dialogue on Small-Scale Mining was held on the theme Eliminating Illegal Mining in Ghana, the Will and the Bill.
As Claude says, report read to you. So live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 and beyond. The National Labour Commission is sounding the alarm over a rising number of cases of unfair dismissals and terminations, particularly in Tema within the Greater Accra region. The Commission says these complaints continue to increase its workload, prompting a commitment to proactivate also the mergers in resolving labor disputes. Addressing the media in Accra, Executive Secretary of the Labour Commission, Dr. Bernice Welbeck, assured the public of the Commission's dedication to ensuring fairness in employment practices.
Now, the regional committee members, what are they expected to do?
Okay, so these regional committee members are expected to perform the functions of the commission. And the whole idea about the regional committees is to decentralize the work of the commission. Okay, because this issue about settlement of industrial disputes used before Labour Act 2003, sure. It used to be a function of the Labour Department. Sure. And this department had offices in all the regions, in all the districts, to ensure that, and the various regions and the various districts, when workers have issues, they don't need to travel all the way to Accra to have their matters adjudicated. And so the essence is to decentralize the work of the commission. And this is in pursuance of Section 144 of the Labour Act. So they are going to perform the same functions that the commission performs here at the head office. Yeah, but with a supervisory jurisdiction of the commission. Yeah.
So matters that are beyond them, they're expected to refer to the commission?
Of course, because if they feel that there's a matter that they cannot handle, then they have to refer it to the commission. But virtually, they are supposed to do the same thing, except in cases where they think that they have to refer to the commission itself.
But what is informing this? Is it a case that you've had a lot of cases that you could not manage, that there's a need to deploy some committee members?
I did say that, if you recall, I did say that this function, before the Labour Act came into effect, was a function that was being played by the Labour Department, okay? And then came the commission. And the Labour Department, has offices in all the regions and all the districts. And so it's important to decentralize the Commission's activities, not only because, not for the sake of decentralization, but for the sake to bring the services of the Commission closer. Because, conflict is inevitable. You can't tell when conflict will happen. And once there's employment relationship, there's bound to be a disagreement. And so when there's this disagreement, the parties should have a place where they can go to have the matter resolved. And also, you asked whether it's informed by the cases that we receive. In fact, we have selected these regions based on our statistics, okay? Because the decentralization is being done gradually. And we have seen that for these regions, there are quite a number of cases that are coming from these regions. So we thought that why don't we start with these regions? For example, if you take Tema, Tema is an industrial city, so we have a lot of cases coming from Tema. And so the regional office in Tema is the Greater Accra Regional Office, and to service Tema and its environs. Okay, so that from Tema and beyond Tema, if people have cases, then they can go to Tema. Okay, and if you take Western Region, for example, the idea is that until we get Central Regional Office inaugurated or established, Western Region would also service the Central Region.
Okay. Which cases normally come from these areas, especially the case of Tema? Do you have any fair ideas with the statistics and the figures?
In terms of the numbers, I can't immediately say, but in terms of the type of cases, all the cases about terminations, cases about dismissal, cases about unfair labor practice, medical claims, all the cases that are classified by the commission, they come from Tema.
So that means that Tema region is topping.
Yes, currently Tema is topping in terms of the cases. Wow. Yeah. Currently, Tema is topping in terms of the cases, yeah.
Right, probably my final question to you. You have been in the space for quite some time now, the acting executive secretary of National Labour Commission.
As Daniel Opoku there in that conversation with the Executive Secretary of the National Labour Commission. It's live here on Hot Edition on 3FM. We're back with the business news. Bismarck Ewusa is standing by. Stay with us.
Alone, we can only go so
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Business Segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Ausa. Coming up tonight, government set to borrow 6.68 billion cedis tomorrow, May 16, 2025. In its latest Treasury bills auction, we'll bring you details. Thanks for your company. Now to the details. The government will borrow 6.68 billion cedis through the issuance of 91-day, 182-day, and 364-day bills tomorrow, May 16, 2025. This will be used to settle maturing debt worth 6.44 billion cedis. Last week, the government, for the second consecutive week, failed to meet its treasury bills target. This is despite an impressive performance of the Ghana cedi, ranking it as the best performing currency in the world. Moving on, the Bank of Ghana is teaming up with its Rwandan counterpart to tackle one of the continent's most persistent challenges, the difficulty individuals and small businesses face in sending and receiving money across borders. Head of FinTech and Innovation at the Central Bank, Kwame Opon, says the two central banks are leading a collaborative effort supported by the Global Financial Innovation Network to pilot cross-border payments and fintech passporting solutions. The goal, he says, is to eliminate financial barriers that stifle trade and growth for micro, small and medium enterprises across Africa.
Regulators have come to terms with the fact that the nature of the developments on the global scene, as well as here in Africa, requires that we collaborate. And that collaboration is already happening. Reference was made to our partnership and collaboration with the Rwanda Central Bank, for instance, where we're exploring licensed passporting as well as cross-border payments. And in fact, Ghana is leading in mobilizing, together with Rwanda, an initiative with GFTN and PAPS, an initiative to bring central banks together so we can test and learn how we actually achieve things like cross-border payments, so that MSMEs and individuals on the continent can actually send and receive money among themselves. So those issues would no longer be a barrier, and we can actually ultimately achieve our goals of AFTA, which is seeking to also bring development to not just the country level, but individuals and small businesses in our respective countries.
And that was Head of FinTech and Innovation at the Bank of Ghana, Kwame Opon. Now, after years of setbacks from the European Union ban, Ghana's chili pepper export industry is poised for revival through structured financing, improved quality control, and a new partnership framework. This is through a renewed public-private effort led by the Ghana Incentive-Based Risk-Sharing System for Agricultural Lending, GESAL. Kwesi Dua is Chief Executive of GESAL.
At the moment, we've signed MOUs with about 16 agribusinesses. Initially, we're looking to sign with about 10 of them, but the demand has been overwhelming. We've had more interest than we anticipated. So 16 in the first round, and we fully expect to sign on other agribusinesses in the second season. Well, the study suggests that the consumption of chili is on the rise. I can tell you for sure, in the US alone, the per capita consumption of chili is about 18 pounds per person. That's a lot of pepper. This is primarily driven by the changes in tastes. A lot of people are now eating the kinds of foods that come from Africa. Of course, it's driven by a lot of African migrants and so on and so forth. Now, in Ghana, we find ourselves in a position where there is a window of opportunity, a time during the year where the major suppliers outside Africa are not able to produce because of their weather. So we have the weather. We are also located part of the world that makes it easier and faster for us to ship. And so we are simply taking advantage of that window opportunity to fill the demand need during the time of the year when the other countries cannot produce.
And that was Chief Executive of GESAL, Kwesi Dua. Moving on, the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, GEPA, has revealed that non-traditional export earnings for 2024 stood at $3.83 billion, which is a 2.87% decrease from the previous year. The report also revealed that manufacturers and semi-produced processed sectors contributed over 83% of the total non-traditional export earnings. Speaking at the launch of the NTE Statistics Report 2024, Chief Executive of GEPA, Francis Kojo-Kwarteng, stated that his outfit is committed to increasing the trade volumes in the coming years.
The marginal dip is primarily linked to reduced exports in iron and steel products to ECOWAS region. Yet we registered encouraging gains in several other sectors. The manufacturers and semi-processed sectors remain the backbone of our exports, contributing over 83% to total earnings. Of particular interest is the performance of cocoa paste, which grew by 35.54%, driven by robust demand from Europe and North America. This highlights Ghana's competitive edge in value-added cocoa products, a direction we will continue to champion. The agricultural sector increased contribution to 13.48%, while the industrial and arts and crafts sector recorded significant growth of nearly 23%, a powerful reminder of the global appetite for Ghana's creative and cultural exports.
And that was Chief Executive of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, Francis Kojo-Kwarteng, ending the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Awusa. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. Thanks for your company.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Let's start off from the Ghana Premier League where Heart of Oak are up against Berekum Chelsea in matchday 31 action this weekend. The Phobians have had a forgettable season, picking up just one win in their last 5 games. Ahead of the game against Berekum Chelsea, head coach of the side, Abubakar Ouattara, says the team will adjust its approach.
It's the intelligence I want to take into work on it. Like every match we are approaching for every match. You know, every match have its own reality. What do you want to achieve for this match? What do you have as players who are available before you checking the yellow cards and the injured players and there's 1 minute in slump. We are doing it. Slowly we are going to Berekum to play a league match. And we have the agenda when we are going there, okay?
And so that was head coach of Accra Heart of Oak, Abubakar Ouattara. To some more stories in the Ghana Premier League, Mediama away to relegation threatened Karela United. The Mauve and Yellows have lost their last 3 away games and are faced with the possibility of yet another defeat. As things stand, they are just 6 points off the top of the table. And ahead of the tie, head coach of the side, Ibrahim Tanko, says that Mediama will fight to earn a point at least from this match.
I mean, Karela is another stubborn side, and they beat the BNE Gold Stars and the league leaders at home. So definitely, and they are going to stay home with their confidence. But I mean, we are coming there to, try to win the game, or if possible, we pick a point there.
So that was Ibrahim Tanko, who is the head coach of Mediama SC. A lot of matches to look forward to this weekend in the Ghana Premier League, and we bring you a comprehensive preview to that on Sports Daily on TV3 at 10:30 a.m. on Friday. Let's now turn our attention to England, where Chelsea manager Enzo Maresca has emphasized the need to finish the season on a good note. Chelsea are currently level on points with Aston Villa in 5th place and host Manchester United in Premier League football on Friday as the battle for Champions League football intensifies this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think at the beginning of the season we were, as you said, if someone said us that we need to win the last 2 games to reach Champions League spot, probably we were happy. I think overall during the season we had moments, for instance, the first 5-6 months where we were second, third, so even better. And now we are there and we're going to try to finish well.
Still on the Blues, let's hear from Cole Palmer, who has been speaking to the media ahead of the match against Manchester United. Now, he's made a bold proclamation about midfielder Romeo Lavia, saying that he believes the former Southampton man has what it takes to become the best midfielder in the world.
I think he's one of the best midfielders I've played with. Everyone's not saw it because he's been injured, but obviously I knew him at City, and I think everyone will realise soon. I think he will be one of the best midfielders in the world. Well, he's been injured, and so it's been difficult for him. But I think the games he has played this season, you see what difference he's made, and I think when he has a full season playing and staying fit, hopefully, then I think everyone will realise.
Let's head to the opposite dugout, and that's Manchester United, where head coach Ruben Amorim has described the Red Devils season as embarrassing. United have won only 6 Premier League games since Amorim took over as manager in November 2024, and they are on course for their worst ever Premier League finish.
It seems like I'm pushing all to the players. I'm the responsible, and I'm really. It's hard to find another word. I'm really embarrassed of. In 26 games, win 6, and something is wrong in the way we are playing football. And sometimes it's not about the way we play, tactically and technically. It's the way we face competition, and the way we suffer, and the way we get mad because we are losing, and the way we protect the goal. And these things we need to improve. And sometimes it's not just inside the pitch, it's outside the pitch. But that feeling that I'm talking about, like, to fight until the end, the way we face competition. It's not okay to lose. It's not okay to draw. It doesn't matter if we can change our position on the league, in the league or not. That feeling is nothing about confidence. It's about the belief and the understanding that we are in Manchester United, and we don't want to be the worst in the league. And our position it's unacceptable.
Finally, before we go, Barcelona could be crowned champions of La Liga tonight with a win against local rivals Espanyol. Although Espanyol are lingering in the relegation zone, Barcelona manager Hansi Flick believes that it would still be a very, very difficult game for the Blaugrana.
Like that you say, it's a derby, and of course, Espanyol made it a really good job in the second part of the season, and they get two more players, key players, new players, and they're very, very good. They improve with them a lot, so they have a clear style how they want to play, and yeah, for us, it's very important that we show we are focused, that it must be clear from the beginning that we want to win 3 points.
So that was head coach of FC Barcelona, Hansi Flick. But before we go, let's just bring you lineups from Barcelona as the match kicks off in just about 40 minutes' time. Lewandowski returns to the starting 11 as head coach of the side. Hansi Flick runs in a lot of changes. We're seeing Araujo and Christensen are introduced into the defensive setup in the place of Pau Kubasi and Inigo Martinez. And so it's Eric Garcia, Ronald Araujo, Christensen, and then there's also Gerard Martin playing as the left back in front of Chesney. In midfield, it's the same as the El Clasico, as Pedri, Frankie de Jong and Dani Olmo play in the middle of the pack. And then on the wings is Lamine Yamal and Rafinha as Lewandowski returns to the starting 11. You can get updates of that game on our social media handles at 3 Sports GH. My name is Ore Kwampofo, and that's the sports segment on Hot Edition.
Early every weekday because of you, to keep you on top of your game. Yeah!
You are at the center of our universe. That's why we make it a duty to serve you only the freshest, hottest news and entertainment. When you want it, where you want it.
Good morning, Ghana, Africa, and the rest of the wonderful world. Welcome to Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Start your day well informed. Start with us on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Catch the all-new Sunrise Morning Show on 3FM 92.7 with me, Johnny Hughes, Helen Apiampofo. Weekdays from 5:55 a.m. to 10 a.m. only on 3FM 92.7.
3FM, your urban lifestyle radio.
Welcome back. This is Hot Edition on 3FM. During a recent engagement with the Parliamentary Select Committee on Employment, Labour Relations and Pensions, the MPRA proposed a national conversation on increasing the retirement age. Ghana's retirement age could soon rise from 60 to 65 if the National Pensions Regulatory Authority gets its consideration also accepted. As we speak, the MPRA is arguing that Ghana's current pension system is under pressure from increasing life expectancy and shorter contribution periods. Here's the MPRA boss earlier today.
You can see what will happen to SNIT because it means you have to pay the person after you die. And people can retire at age 60 and they grow up to 90. And you have to be paying. So we are of the view that when the retirement age is actually moved to up to 65, at age 65, people still have active minds to work and do things. Because we think that you can't, if somebody, the longevity risk is something that even other Western countries are looking at. Because you expose the pension fund, especially in Japan, for instance, where people can grow up to 100 and you continue to pay. So assuming they are retiring at age 60, you have 30 years to be paying these people through this fund. So when it comes on board, honorable members, there are some of you in parliament right now who are over 60, and their contribution is very rich when it comes to, so why must people go on retirement at 60? It's something that it will come. People cheat with their ages because maybe they think they just want to continue to work. But if they know that it's 65, it will, because already people are cheating. And then the funny thing is that even when people are 60, we still give them contract to work for more years and all that. Why must we do that? So why can't we just, our national retirement age to come at age 65?
That's the MPRA boss there. Now, though the chair of the committee disagrees with the proposal, he doesn't consider it as a priority at the time.
That's a proposal that they are also making, that the pension age should move to, instead of 60 years, should go to up to 65 years. Yes, it makes sense in a way, but in order to implement that, we have to make sure that youth are working. We've gotten enough employment for youth to work. Otherwise, it will be a chaos to the country, and this will bother national security matters. So it's a proposal that they are making, so the committee will sit on it and also judge on it and make sure that since the President said he's going to get youth into employment or youth employment and also 24-hour economy and reset Ghana, maybe it will bring a lot of jobs. So when the youths are happy, then they can extend it. But now that unemployment becomes a huge problem in the country, there's no way we can implement that. But it's a proposal that we have to also give it a thought.
Oh, that's it for Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesme 107.